Doing the throw for the end zone. Touchdown, Parker. Pick off by Xavien Howard. Tagovailoa trying to pick up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! That's hard work.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one, and tonight I got a very special guest. I'm joined by Eric Crocker. Eric, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for being patient with me after missing yesterday.
No worries, brother. No worries. It's all good. I'm just excited to have you on, man. I think people are going to learn a lot in terms of, you know, the defensive backs and wide receivers tonight with you. I can't wait to jump into this. I've been really looking forward to this because, you know, there's a lot of stuff in terms of those two positions. Obviously, we're a wide receiver needy team, but with the X thing going on right now, we could very well be in the market, it sounds like, for a corner, especially in this draft. So picking your brain is something I've been really looking forward to. And even before we went live, I loved our chat there a little bit, just hearing your thoughts. But before we get into everything, could you just give everyone a little bit of info in terms of your background of playing the game and what exactly you do now?
Eric Crocker, and you know, just being obsessed with football. You know, I think that's one way to just sum me up. My wife would tell you, I'm just really obsessed with it. You know, obviously I played pro ball. I played a few years of arena football. I was with the New York Jets 2013. So that's kind of my background from there. But I think, you know, me making it to the NFL, me playing pro ball, like I guess it was bound to happen because I was a decent athlete. But really, like, my passion has always been just like loving football, like just every aspect of it. You know, when I was a kid, like I wanted to be a commentator, like I wanted to be on ESPN. I wanted to be, Stuart Scott, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to be that. So it's crazy that I made it to the league because I never thought that would even be possible for me. Me growing up, like, it wasn't, oh, I want to make it to the NFL. It was like, man, I want to be like Stuart Scott. So now it's cool. You know, Twitter has kind of given me a platform to be able to talk sports and you know, be able to make some money off of it and everything, and really just give people a different insight, you know what I'm saying? An insight from an athlete. And I think I understand it extremely well because I wasn't the best athlete. And, you know, I understand where, you know, I'm real with myself and where I was. And I think that helps me, you know, evaluate other prospects and just kind of have an eye for it.
Yeah. Okay. So you obviously had a pro day, right? When you were in college?
No. So, again, being real with where I was, you know, I had good size, you know, almost 6'2", almost 6'2", you know, 195 pounds or so, you know, come out of college. I went to a Division II school, and, you know, I made all conference, but my numbers just weren't like eye popping. And I knew I wasn't like a 4.4 guy. So, you know, I ended up just going, I had an opportunity to go to the Arena League, and I went straight to the AFL, and then from there, that was how I got to the NFL. So I skipped out on my pro day. I didn't go there because my pro day would have been at the same time as like my second game in the Arena Football League, or it was something like that. So I was like, yeah, I just went that route.
I got you. You know, and the Arena Football League, I mean, that's also where Kurt Warner honed his skills too. Like, you know, there were multiple guys who started off there and then, you know, they moved up a level back into the NFL. And didn't you win an Arena Bowl championship?
Yeah, man. I won the Arena Bowl championship my last year playing, and I could have played more, but at that time it was just, you know, I was my kids were getting older. I kind of wanted to be there more for them, you know, and I made solid money in the Arena League, but just, you know, leaving California again, you know, after missing so much time with my kids, you know, I think that's the part people don't really think about, you know, especially like I went to a Division II school, like I had to move to Arkansas, you know, my son, he wasn't with me. And then from there, I was there a couple years. Then I went to the AFL. I'm living in San Antonio. I'm still away from my son. And then New Jersey, with the Jets. I'm away from my son. Then Portland. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I'm all over. And then my last year playing, I was in California, playing in San Jose with the San Jose SaberCats, which was about an hour from my hometown. So, and all my family is actually from San Jose. So everybody got to go to my games. I mean, I would sometimes have, 30 family members at a game, 40 family members at a game. And then my kids were able to watch me play. And then after that, the San Jose SaberCats actually went away, and a bunch of teams from like Orlando, Jacksonville, some Spokane, Washington, like all these different schools, teams out of state were trying to get me. But I was like, man, I'm just not leaving home anymore. I didn't want to leave my kids. So I walked away. But yeah, that last year I won an Arena Bowl championship. The first championship I ever won in my life. So that was pretty cool.
But I mean, you might have went to a Division II school, but when I looked up on you, I mean, you were still named Great American All-Conference team, right? You were still named, like you were still highly regarded, even though you're in a Division II, even though you say you didn't have the stats to pop off, you still got those honors, which for the Division II obviously is a big deal, no?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool making that, but like, maybe if I was like All-American or something, then I probably would have tried to push more of going the pro day route and all that. But yeah. I think ultimately, man, you just kind of have to like kind of really read the room, and I was able to read the room and kind of understand like where I stood and, be real with that and what the process ahead might be. And even then, I wasn't thinking like, oh, one day I'm gonna have the opportunity to play in the NFL. I was thinking more so just, man, I just get to play football after college. And then from there, it was like, after I started every game as a rookie in the AFL, I was like, damn, maybe I can get to the CFL, you know? And then I actually just went straight to the NFL. So, that was something real cool.
That's awesome, man. All right, let's start off talking about corners. I got to get your thoughts. What were your thoughts on a guy like Xavien Howard having such a good season, 10 interceptions, first guy in a decade to do that? And yet, he had a better season than what Stephon Gilmore had last year. And Stephon Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year, yet Xavien Howard can only gain 3 votes. I mean, did you have any thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, it's wild, but I will say this about Stephon Gilmore. Like, I'll talk about his year first, and then Xavien Howard. Okay, it could possibly have something to do with the scheme, and well, maybe their scheme's the same because I know Flores came from, the Patriots, but I know Gilmore was placed with a lot of responsibility, playing a lot of man coverage, having to, travel with some guys, shutting out a guy like Amari Cooper and holding him to 0 catches in the entire game. Know he played some in the slot with them and had some pick sixes and stuff like that. So I think he did awesome. But Xavien Howard, man, it was like every week he was just coming down with interceptions. And I'm watching, I'm like, damn, how many? Hey, 6 interceptions next week. Damn, 7, damn, 10. Like what? So it was interesting to see, him not get a lot of love. Maybe they just felt like, cornerbacks don't really get Defensive Player of the Year. So I think maybe they're like, we threw y'all a bone with Stephon Gilmore. Xavien Howard, even though you had an amazing year, maybe next time. So it was tough. It was tough seeing him not get that, especially like it's one thing to get interceptions because, all schemes aren't created the same. Some people play more man coverage and you're likely to not get as many interceptions. Zone teams, typically you have a chance to get more because you can see the ball come out the quarterback's hand. You can, you can read route concepts and whatnot. But, but Howard, he was just making plays on the ball, like no matter what it was. So that was, he had an amazing year.
Yeah. And, I've talked about this before on this platform. And, we mentioned Dion before we went live when we were talking about Okudah. Have you ever seen since Dion, someone that can bait quarterbacks into making a throw by just giving that half a step and then turning the burners on and undercutting the route like X does? Like, he might be, in your opinion, is he probably one of the best at doing that since primetime was around?
Man, like it's got to be close. Like, people won't say that because he doesn't have that, when you watch Dion, obviously that elite speed and burst and acceleration really jumped off the page. And I don't think Xavien Howard plays with that, but he's really good. And he's still doing a lot of the same things. I mean, I remember watching the Dolphins against the Seahawks. As a 49er fan, we don't like the Seahawks. So anytime I get a chance to watch them, I'm like, man, I hope this team wins. But undercutting that pass in the end zone, I think it was to like DK Metcalf and picking that off, plays like that. Those type of things jumped out to me. Like, he did that extremely well.
49ers fan, eh? God, I love it. Are you a Sherman guy or what? You think you guys can move off him?
Oh yeah, no, Sherman's gone. Sherman told you. I mean, he told us he's gone.
Yeah,
I don't think it's anything like personal or anything like that. I think he enjoyed his time with the 49ers, but I think it was more so just, financial situation and maybe where the 49ers are headed. It just sounded like, the conversations that were had, just didn't include him in the future.
I know the Deshaun Watson smoke is around us, but I've been telling people since it started, you guys are the ideal fit for him. I don't know if you'd be willing to give up what it's going to take, but you put him in that Shanahan scheme, you guys are going back to the Super Bowl. I truly believe that, man. You guys could do miracles with him. I truly believe. Yeah,
I think if the 49ers, there's been a ton of talk about, surrounding the quarterback situation with the 49ers. I think kind of like maybe even like the Dolphins, right? Like where people are like, oh, Tua, like, but, he's not this, but, you guys still aren't desperate. It's like, okay, well, we have Tua, we're solid. We don't have to do any moves out of desperation, even for Deshaun Watson, right? Even though, like, yeah, Deshaun Watson's better, but it's like, well, we have a court. We don't have to give up 5 draft first-round picks. Like we're in a position where we have somebody young. We can possibly build off of them. I think the 49ers are in a similar situation where it's like, yeah, we would love to have Deshaun Watson, but we actually have a starting quarterback who we can win with. Now, yeah, can we get better? And will we be better with Watson? Yes. But we've shown that if things are right around Garoppolo, we can be a team that reaches the Super Bowl. So I think from that standpoint, 49ers aren't desperate to acquire somebody like him and give up 4 first-round picks and 2 starters or whatever they were talking about. But I think if it were a more reasonable opportunity to get them, like where they don't have to give up as much, I think then the 49ers would probably be in play.
Were you surprised at all? And just before we get back to X, were you surprised at all today? Because I saw the report that you guys are not moved. You have no interest in Sam Darnold. Are you surprised by that at all? Because a lot of people are trying to push the narrative that he's a perfect scheme fit for you guys under Shanahan.
No, I'm not surprised by it at all. Again, Kyle Shanahan has been very, very open about the quarterback situation. And, if you ask 49er fans, you might get a completely different interpretation from one to the other on what exactly Kyle is saying. But what Kyle said was, if we can upgrade from Garoppolo, like, and the opportunity presents itself, then we will. Now, when it comes to Darnold, I don't think that he's an upgrade. I think he is an upgrade talent-wise. I think with the throws that he can make, his ability to push the ball downfield better, with the athleticism and the scrambling and running ability, but his play hasn't matched that, So yes, I mean, me personally, yeah, I like Darnold, but it's like his play is what it is. Now we can talk about context and his situation has been trash, right? With New York, he hasn't played with a lot of weapons. Even last year, acquiring guys like Mims and Pyramid. I mean, those guys were hurt half the year. Crowder, like guys missed a lot of time. Coordinating, the play calling and all that, like Adam Gase. I mean, worst offensive line in the league. So it's like I get it. Like I get it. I get the context of why maybe it hasn't played out so well for him. But at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is in the sense of it's like, Sam, you still haven't done anything to like look like you're helping,
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think from that standpoint, it's just a little tough to move on from Garoppolo, who has played well anytime he's only been on the field and played well. Like, I mean, he's had his ups and downs too, for sure. But he has shown you a good amount of good moments. And the record with him is a lot better than it is without him. So all those, things, man, we'll see how it all plays out. And I see somebody in the comments saying, Jimmy's main issue is he can't stay healthy. I mean, that's part of it. But I think an even bigger part of it is his ability to do, other things consistently, like push the ball downfield, like 49ers throw the least amount of deep shots in the NFL. Like, that's not by accident. That's not by coincidence. That's not by Kyle Shanahan's scheme. Kyle Shanahan would love to push the ball down the field. He did it with Atlanta. Jimmy Garoppolo struggles to throw outside the numbers. Like, they don't even try to do that. Everything is inside the hashes, inside the numbers. It has to be timing. So Kyle has done a good job of structuring an offense that fits Garoppolo's skill set very well, but he still kind of limits the offense. And somebody like Darnold, in theory, would open that up, but you just don't know. And I don't think they're willing to take that type of risk.
Let me ask you this: Super Bowl against the Chiefs. If he hits it was Debo, I believe. If he hits Debo on that deep pass, do you think you guys are champions?
Oh man, it was Emmanuel Sanders that he missed.
Oh, that's what it was, Sanders.
But even then, man, like, I would think so. But there were a lot of plays that led up to that where the 49ers just kind of shot themselves in the foot. You talk about that Wasp play on 3rd and 15. If they get that stop, I think the game is over. They were up 10 with like 7 minutes left, and it was 3rd and 15. If you get that stop, ball game. But instead, they converted it, and then everything else, it just started snowballing. And even before that one deep ball that he missed, which obviously would have been a huge play, but I mean, there were 3rd down plays that passes got batted down by Chris Jones, and that's a nightmare of a game to relive. Between that and the Super Bowl in 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched either one of those back. I can't watch them, so.
Sorry to open old wounds, my friend.
Yeah.
All right, so back to X. The Dolphins already made him the highest paid cornerback once. Now coming off the season he had, do you think they should pay him again? I mean, you've been in a locker room. If they don't re-up him, could that cause a little of, oh, you're not taking care of our own guys, when in reality we already took care of him once? Or do you think they should move him because his trade value will never be higher? He's 27 going on 28. I'm sure, as you know, going back to Baylor, he's had knee issues. What would you do with the Xavien Howard situation?
Well, one, how many years does he have left on his contract?
He has 2.
I'd probably just let him play out those years and reevaluate where he is after this season. A lot of times, especially with the cornerback position, it's usually not like this. It's usually kind of like this if you kind of look at, coverage grades and whatnot. So I wouldn't rush to pay him off of just that, last year. Maybe if you just want to kind of throw him a little something and extend his contract out maybe one more year, there might be something, but I doubt he would agree to that. He probably wants to hit free agency or be able to re-up one more time before he hits his 30s. So I think ideally, you want him to play out this year, and it likely won't be as great as last year. So that might kind of bring his, I don't want to say his value down, but you probably won't have to pay him as much. So I would kind of write it out at least for this year. And then when you're going into the next year, you kind of reevaluate and see where you are and see if he's a guy that you feel, is going to be the guy moving forward. You guys have poured in a good amount of resources to that position with Byron Jones and then drafting the kid from Auburn as well last year. So, maybe it might come to the point where you don't have to pay him top dollar because the kid from Auburn has developed, and maybe you brought somebody else in that you drafted, and now it's like, all right, we don't have to spend 16, 17, 18 million dollars off of for one player, because that can go to a lot of different players.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned his name. I want to ask you, because obviously your experience is the position you probably know best. A lot of fans look at the stats, or in the case of cornerbacks, obviously INTs, interceptions as results, the sexy stats. Can you explain why having such a lockdown guy like Byron Jones opposite of Xavien Howard is so vital, and how it helps a player like Xavien Howard have the best season he just had interception wise?
Yeah, well, one, when you have 2 corners, now a team has to be a little bit more honest with what they do, right? When you have 2 good corners, you can't just hide from Xavier Howard. There are times where I remember watching Richard Sherman in his prime, and against the Packers, and Richard Sherman, he would just stay on that left side of the defense, And there was a whole game where, there was 0 targets. But when you have, a corner opposite that's really good as well, now a team has to play their offense a little bit more honest. And I think that kind of what helps just at least give Howard the targets to be able to get 10 interceptions in a season, whereas, if it's, say like the 49ers, they kind of struggle a little bit. It was kind of up and down opposite Richard Sherman a lot of times. So even when Richard wasn't great, people were like, we still rather would not throw at him. Let's throw at one of these, more inexperienced guys. So you guys definitely didn't have that situation. Now you pay for it, right? You pay big money to Howard, pay big money to Byron Jones. And, when you pay money like that to 2 guys, you definitely, you got to utilize them to where now maybe hopefully it frees up other guys, right? It makes it so, okay, our safeties can do a little bit more playing with their eyes on the quarterback, reading that and being able to, maybe jump some more routes that are, underneath and whatnot, because I can leave my outside guys on an island when need be. Obviously, not every play, but, when need be, we can leave them on an island and we can, play a little riskier with some of the things we do coverage wise. So, things like that can definitely helps the safeties pretty sure, and the linebackers, I'm sure.
All right, you mentioned him too. The cornerback from Auburn, we got Noah Igbenogany. He had only played the position for about 1.5 2 years, converted wide receiver to corner. Did you have a chance to watch? Well, I know for a fact you watched JaMarr Chase against Auburn. Did you have a chance at all to give Noah Igbenogany a look? And if you did, do you have any thoughts on Noah Igbenogany?
Yeah, I definitely had like my full on notes and everything. I don't remember them quite right now because it was a whole year ago, but I knew he wasn't bad. Now I've recently watched and went back and watched the JaMarr Chase against Auburn, and I thought 23 was better than 4. So he was number 4. I don't want to even guess how to say his name. Noah, I'll just call him Noah.
Yeah.
I thought 23 in that game did a better job against JaMarr Chase than Noah. And when people say that, you can look at the stats, and I'm pretty sure 23 gave up more yards to Chase, but I just mean like in a sense of evaluating someone as a prospect and looking at some of the things that they're struggling with. So, I can look at a rep, and even though a guy doesn't get targeted, I can see how the receiver makes that cornerback feel. And I thought that just watching how Chase made him feel, he looked like he was a little uncomfortable trying to guard Chase, whether he was his time clock was getting sped up a little bit, getting upfield, and when Chase sitting down, then there's that separation, just things like that where it looks like, okay, Noah's a little sped up. Is he scared of Chase a little bit? I know they gave him help over top sometimes. Those are just kind of things that I noticed when going back and watching that game.
Okay. Did you have a chance to check out Brandon Jones coming out of Texas last year? No, you didn't watch any Texas stuff. What are your thoughts on Nick Needham? Have you had a chance? You haven't had a chance to watch him?
No, I haven't watched him.
Undrafted free agent. He plays nickel for us now. Give him a look.
I will say this about an undrafted guy, and just kind of like my experience with that. Anybody that makes the roster from an undrafted perspective, he's doing something right, and a lot of times they just need a little bit of time and really just that someone kind of believing in them to kind of give them that confidence that they're heading in the right direction. When you're at the bottom like that, and I tell you from experience, every day you're seeing people get cut, left and right. You're seeing guys come in and trying out, and a lot of times you're looking like, damn, they're working out corners. I'm a corner, like, I hope I'm still gonna be here, So like just that nerve-wracking part, like a lot of times, especially early on, especially as a rookie and you're undrafted, you're kind of on pins and needles the whole time. So you're a little more tense, for him, and again, I haven't watched him, but I would say there could be a year or two leap where maybe he starts to feel a little bit more comfortable and that, hey, like I belong, right? And maybe somebody told him like, hey, dude, you belong, but he has to really believe that and not continue to look over his shoulder. And I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying usually from an undrafted, perspective, and what my situation was, a lot of times that's what you're doing because, these guys, they're coming in and they're always when you're at the bottom of the roster, you're disposable. You know, when I got released, it was because Joe McKnight had a concussion and Chris Ivory had an ankle sprain, and they needed to make room to sign a running back for their next game. So I got released, you know, and it could be something as simple as that, where it's like, dang, I didn't even do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just, you know, a way to kind of think about that whole thing like that.
Yeah. All right. So moving to this draft, is Caleb Farley your cornerback 1?
No.
What are your thoughts on Caleb Farley before I ask you who it is?
Man, I like him. You know, I talked a little bit about Noah and him being a little sped up with his time clock and things like that. And I see some of those things with Farley as well. With Farley, I'll say this. I'll start with some positives. He is athletically, he's a freak. You know, his ability, you know, you talked about Xavier Howard and Deion Sanders and that ability to close on the ball in the air.
Yeah.
I think the way he does it is more like Deion Sanders, where you can see that just that elite burst speed and like the ball skill to really attack the ball in the air. The way he does it, man, is just like he's playing off a lot of athleticism. Now, the issue sometimes with someone that's playing more so off of athleticism is that they sometimes lack a little bit in the technical department. And with him, that's what it looks like. Now, you know, he's missed some time with injuries. You know, he's somebody who didn't play in his 3rd season. You know, he is somebody that was like I want to say a quarterback in high school and then a converted receiver.
Yeah.
You know, he converted to cornerback. So he's fairly new at the cornerback position. So a lot of what I'm seeing could be the case. But athletically, there's going to be a team that's like, oh, well, you know, he's just too freaky and the upside is there. And hey, we can get him to be, you know, Jalen Ramsey, you know, and from that standpoint, they'll take him high. But it can definitely go the other way as well. You know, I think when you watch him, you know, they played a whole lot of off, not a lot of press. And you look at him and you would think like, oh, this is a press corner. But then when you start watching him play press reps, it's very inconsistent. Sometimes he does it very well. Then other times he's speed turning, bad eyes, all these other things that look like, okay, he's not as nuanced at the position. I think from playing off, he's good. Definitely when he like anticipates the route. Like I think he can explode out of his break better than anybody in his class. But when he's not able to anticipate it and he just has to react, I think his feet are a little heavy. Sometimes they can get kind of stuck. So there are things that he can clean up, especially from a technical standpoint. But you know, I always like say like the technique part of things, like I can teach that. You know, I can't teach the size that he has. I can't teach the you know, the explosiveness and athleticism that he has. Like that stuff is hard to really teach or improve on. So from that standpoint, I think he's a good prospect, but just not CB1 for me personally.
I gotta ask you in regards to Farley, have you noticed when you've watched him, have you noticed any issues with tackling?
I mean, I can remember like a game, him playing against Miami, and you know, he's supposed to be kind of like the force on that play, and he let the back kind of bounce outside and like dive into the end zone, you know, stuff like that. But ultimately, I mean, I didn't see that. But I will say this, you know, a coach once told me, he's like, man, we pay cornerbacks to cover, not tackle. So I think a lot of people, they put like a premium on tackling from cornerbacks, but obviously you don't want somebody that's just a punk, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't want somebody that's just going to like, you know, wuss out on trying to make a tackle. But, you know, if a guy kind of misses a tackle here and there and he's a cornerback, that's not the worst thing in the world to me. I won't knock him too much. Now, you will see guys that are great tacklers like Jeffrey Okudah, but I still take the coverage guy over somebody that, oh, he tackles extremely well. Like, and he's a corner. I mean, that's great. It's an added bonus, and I think it's a tone setter, but I don't think that's, you know, I still want the coverage guy more so than just this great tackler at cornerback.
Yeah. I just asked because he's missed 21 tackles on 80 career tackle attempts. So
that's a lot of missed tackles.
Yeah, it just sticks out. And I did notice it, and then I went and looked at the analytics. I'm like, oh, it lined up. Okay, so you know, you mentioned, you know, you basically said he's got press man traits physically, but doesn't have very much experience in it. Who is your corner one? I'm gonna throw a name out there. I'm guessing it's J.C. Horn.
Yeah, I love J.C. Horn, man. With J.C. Horn, so I had a guy I was on the Jets with, my guy Griffin, and typically I don't say his name, I just say one of my old teammates from the Jets, but he was a running back in New York. Well, now he's a strength and conditioning coach, and for the last few years, he's with the Rams now this year, but this upcoming season, it's his first year with the Rams, but he's been with South Carolina on their strength and conditioning staff. And one thing that he typically gives me heads up about players, right? Like if there's somebody that's just really good or whatever, like he's like, hey, it's Deebo Samuel, you're gonna like him. And then next year it's like, hey, Kinlaw, Brian Edwards. Like he's always giving me like these tips on players. So he eventually, hey, J.C. Horn. I'm like, well, okay, who is he? And he's like, listen, everybody's gonna talk about the big 6'4" corner. But I'm telling you, J.C. Horn is the guy. He's the alpha male. He's the leader from the day he stepped in that room as a true freshman. He was the leader of that group. And he was like, he's mean. You're going to love him, Croc. So as the season goes on, and I see him. I watch some games. I'm like, okay, nice. I see him playing. He's doing well. Then he had the Auburn game. And what he did that game really kind of, I think, introduced him to the rest of the world in the sense of like, hey, I'm here and I want to come for that, CB1 spot and at least start a conversation. Now, there are going to be people that aren't going to move Farley off of 1 or 2 or Surtain off of 1 or 2. But when you start really diving into Horn's film and you look at some of the things that you can't teach, right? And now I'm all about that, like what's teachable, what's not, right? And just the tenacity that he plays with, his confidence, his swagger, his aggressiveness. Like those are things that are, and then when you hear he's an alpha male and you hear he's like a leader, like those are things you kind of either have that or you don't, and he clearly has it. And then you watch just that him challenging himself, and I'm all about guys that challenge themselves. You can just stay on the outside, and that's great. You can stay on the left side of the field, or if you're film boundary, you can just I'm always field, I'm always boundary. But when you're a guy that's like, you know what, Seth Williams, you're their best receiver. I'm going to guard you all game, and I'm going to make life tough on you. That's a different kind of mindset. When you're, Kyle Pitts, I'm on you, Kyle Pitts. And making life tough for Kyle Pitts. I think he was targeted like 5 times and gave up 1 catch to Kyle Pitts. Those type of things. And then his ability to guard different size and type of receivers. I watched him against Devontae Smith. Yeah, he gave up a touchdown, but then he's off on one where he breaks up a slant. Be able to, when you're as big as he is, which he's like the same size as Jalen Ramsey, and to be off in space against somebody that's quicker and twitchier than you like that, and be able to match his movements and break up a slant. To me, those things really jump out to me. So there are a lot of things that and especially somebody that's good. That Devontae Smith, I think the world of him. So to be able to do it against him, that means a lot to me. So you see him battling, and every time he's stepping on the field and he doesn't back down from any type of challenge. And I think his film is really good no matter what film you put on. So, and then obviously he has the games that really stood out. So from a cerebral standpoint, he's there, hard working. I see him in the offseason working with his trainer named Oliver Davis. Oliver Davis does an amazing job training defensive backs. And every chance every time I look up, I see J.C. Horn getting with him. So you definitely somebody that's a hard worker, and he's not somebody, well, my dad played in the league, and I'm this and I'm that. It's like, now, like I'm working hard to be even better. So I love everything about him, that mentality, that mindset, and the way he is. There's not a lot of dudes like that, you know what I'm saying, coming up these days, especially in this like social media era.
Just before we move off J.C. Horn, I think he's the perfect fit for, you kind of talked about how, you have worries with Farley if he's going to be in press man. J.C. Horn's the opposite to me. He's like the perfect man corner. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but he rarely ever got stacked. He
can run. He can run. And then he ran with, first I want to say with Farley, I'm not saying I'm worried about him being impressed. I'm just saying like, that's something that he needs to improve on. Like, I feel like he has all the.
You're just saying there's concerns there. That's all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I noticed that. But with Horn, yeah, man. I mean, he has the ability to run vertically with guys. I mean, we saw his 40. And my thing was, people were like, oh, what do you want him to run? Or what do you think he's going to run? Well, his film tells me he's fast enough. So I think, as long as you see something like 4.47 or better, that lets you know that, he can pretty much match up with any type of receiver. You want to see just that type of speed on paper to be able to run vertically with guys. Well, he ended up running like 4.39, and whether it's, official or not, and you want to add a little bit to that, even if you say it's a 4.45, that's still really good. And I don't have any issues with that. So definitely, he ran fast enough. So, you see him not get stacked by guys vertically and stuff. There are times sometimes, I watch him against Auburn, and everybody talks about the dominant performance on Seth Williams, but Seth Williams did catch like a 40-yard post on him. And, that was off in space, and it was almost like he kind of like fell asleep and maybe it was zone or whatnot. So I think, there are areas definitely that he can improve. I don't think there's any perfect prospect in this class. They all have their little things that they can work on or a play that you can point on from here to here, point to. But for the most part, everything that he brings to the table, I really like it. And he has a lot of stuff that he can build on. Good stuff.
So I got to get your thoughts on one guy. I'm not that high on him as most. Now, not that high means is I have him as my CB4. What are your thoughts on Patrick Surtain?
I really like him. I think from a technical standpoint, he's probably the cleanest prospect in this class. The things I kind of worry about with him, there are a lot of people that would say, well, is he fast? Like, can he run? I don't know if he can run vertically with guys. I'm like, man, that's not an issue. He never had an issue being able to run with guys vertically, for the most part. I think with Surtain and really what they're seeing, but not understanding what they're saying, Surtain has more a lack of twitch and suddenness. So he is another one who really, and again, a lot of times you'll see this with bigger guys, but he's another one that kind of has to be right with what he's expecting, more so than somebody that's just able to react on the fly. So, he's a terrific impressed man and most consistent that I've seen. He doesn't create the space for guys. He consistently gets hands-on. I think that's terrific. Watching him kind of bail out is like he kind of just is out in space and doesn't do anything to like anticipate stop routes from a bail and really close, quickly to make a play on the ball from there. Again, some of these things aren't really going to show up in the stats because I still watch guys when they're away from the ball. So I'll watch and see a receiver run a stop route and him still drift upfield, even though the ball is thrown to the opposite side. I still noted what Surtain did, so those are things that I really paid attention to with him. I thought, and I think when he plays against guys that are a little quicker and twitchier, and again, this is more so an issue for bigger cornerbacks in general, but he moves at one speed. So there's not that like sudden burst right now. So, if he is playing with somebody that's a little quicker or challenges his ability to just react, I think from that standpoint, you could possibly see him get in a little bit of trouble. So, again, I like him. And I think there are a lot of people that, if you say anything bad about a prospect or, oh my gosh, you have him CB4, people are going to, they attack me and whatnot, especially people from Alabama. But, just in general, I really like him. I just think it's a good class. I have him at CB4 as well as of right now. But yeah, there's a lot of good things I think he does. And, if he were 49ers would draft him at 12, I could see him being the first corner taken. And I don't think that would be an issue. I would just say, hey, I keep an eye on him against guys that are a little twitchier or how he reacts in space. Cover 2, he closes extremely well because he has more flat responsibility. But I think other coverages that, maybe cover 4 or something like that, he might have a little more issues. He reminded a lot of Tremaine Johnson. That's who I see. And Tremaine Johnson, he had a run where he was a really good cornerback. At one point, I want to say he was like the highest paid corner in the NFL. So if Surtain can beat Tremaine Johnson, I think that's really good. And I think he's true with maybe a little bit more top end speed. So, Surtain, he ran like 10.8 or whatever in the 100-meter in high school. So, that's good stuff right there. So, terrific prospect. I just have my questions, probably like you do.
Yeah. All right. So my CB3, I got to ask you about him. He's a player that the Dolphins, it came out, we had a prospect interviewed through Zoom list came out. He was near the top of it. And I actually heard rumblings, just from people I talked to near the organization that they really like this kid, Asante Samuel Jr. You did a breakdown on your Patreon, and we'll plug your Patreon at the end of the show just so people can know where to see your breakdowns. And you actually have some on Twitter as well. What are your thoughts of Asante Samuel Jr.?
Yeah, I know. I liked him, and I have him. He will, now that I've watched Greg Newsome, he'll be at like CB5 right now.
Mhm.
And again, that's good because I believe that this is a really good class. When I first looked at like 2019 film, I'm like, man, like, okay, first film I cut on was Clemson because I always want to see like, man, who's the best that this person played against? Who's the best offense or receivers and whatnot. And so I went to the Clemson game first, and I noticed first thing that kind of jumped out immediately was they primarily played him to the field. So they had a boundary corner, they had a field corner. And watching how they did, the boundary corner was pressed, the field corner was playing more off. And I'm like, okay, from that standpoint, they feel this guy is much more aggressive, or he's just the better aggressive corner, especially in press. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then I watched him when they got inside the 10, they just took Asante Samuel out the game. So I'm like, damn. So so are they telling me that they feel really? I'm thinking everything I'm kind of gathering from that standpoint is I think they think this guy's a nickel. So that's what I was thinking at first. And then I watched him in the nickel. I watched him press. It was against Amari Rodgers. And I'm like, he's feathering out too much. He's creating the space for the receiver and kind of giving this free release. And I didn't care for that. But I went and I started watching more film, and I saw a lot of really good stuff. One, I'll say I feel like he's the best tackling cornerback in this class. That's kind of one thing that jumped out to me. So that's really good. That's an added bonus for him. Two, I thought his movement skills and his anticipation was really good. I talked about from being able to bail out and still close out and break up passes. There was one against Damani Brown from UNC. He ran a 5-yard stop route. You had Asante Samuel bailing out. He flips his hips, close, boom, breaks up the ball. Okay, I love that. He's able to play from a shuffle, explode back on the ball, boom, break up the pass. I love that. Did it versus Florida a couple times. And then there was what was it? Oh, in space. I talked about Asante talked about Patrick Surtain, all these players, juniors and stuff, but I talked about Patrick Surtain and his ability to really, he has to kind of anticipate better, right? Well, Asante Samuel Jr. doesn't have that issue. Yeah, he has good anticipation at times, but when he's off in space, he also has the feet and ability to just react. And like, even when he's wrong, his feet can correct him and make him right. So being able to like kind of do that, I think that was big time. So that was really good to see. And then just for somebody that's not the biggest corner, his ability to, play big and go up and attack the ball high point in the end zone, broke up multiple passes down there. Those things jumped out to me. So I really like him. He's somebody who, I can see the NFL being like, let's play him in the nickel. But I think overall, I mean, whether he plays outside or inside, I think he's a terrific prospect.
Let me ask you this. He's pretty physical when he's in press. Does his size worry you if he'll be able to transition that to the NFL?
Nah, man. I mean, there's guys like, you watch Jason Verrett. That's kind of who he reminds me of. Verrett, it don't matter how, big somebody is, and I watched Verrett go toe-to-toe with DeAndre Hopkins last year and challenge him, and, the lack of height wasn't an issue. So I think at the end of the day, if you understand like where your limitations are and how to make those more of a strength, and understand like, okay, like when the ball's in the air, I have to, attack it this way because I'm shorter or whatnot, or maybe I kind of wait for him to come down, then I punch up, whatever it is. You have to figure out what works for you. I think once he does that, it won't matter if he's on the outside or inside, because of his lack of height.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned his name. So he's another player we've interviewed that came out on that list. I got to ask you, is Greg Newsome your CB3?
Nah, I got him at 2.
Ooh.
And really, if I didn't like so much about Horn, I have him at 1. But his just one, I like versatility. So and unlike a lot of people, the way I kind of go into like my process of watching film, I don't look at height, weight, speed. I don't look at any of that ahead of time. I want the person's film to tell me who this guy is. So when it came to Newsome, I'm like, man, moves like a small guy. So I'm thinking the whole time I'm thinking he's like 5'10". Just watching him being able to play off, I'm like, okay, terrific feet, nice transition out of double moves. He's able to flip his hips and close. He's able to do those things well. Challenging receivers at the catch point. I like swagger in which he plays with. Having that type of confidence and whatnot. Okay, let me watch him impress. Oh, I'm watching him impress. Looks really good. Reading guys down. I tweeted out one play. I'm like, damn, it must be. I was being funny, but I was like, it must be story time because he read this receiver down like a book. Just so that means like, okay, he's confident in his speed of not being beat over the top. So I'm like, okay, he must be able to run. And I watched him in several situations where, he would backpedal, turn, run, squeeze routes, break up passes and stuff like that. I thought his transition into turn and run was really good. There was just so much alike. And I guess, if you want to say a weakness of his, I don't think he's the most quickest person out of his break, but he's definitely good enough. So, and I was thinking that, I'm like, man, let me see his ability to quick and close. And then I watched his, I saw his pro day numbers and he ran like 4.28 in the shuttle. And I'm like, okay, that must be what I'm seeing on film. But never was an issue. I thought he did everything extremely well. Obviously, I like him enough to have him at CB2 and even consider putting him at 1 over Horn, but I just couldn't go that far. But I think he's a terrific prospect. Now, I think what people, the stuff that people might question and why he might be somebody that drops is he has injury concerns. I don't think he played a ton of games because of his injuries. So if those are things that a GM or a staff is worried about, then he could be somebody that slides. But just off of ability and what he's able to do with that type of versatility, like if I'm the Broncos and I'm at pick 8, I'm looking at somebody like him, like, ooh, him and Fuller, like, or not, Fuller from the Bears, who's played in that similar type scheme and was really good. Those are two, very comparable players. Really, I compared him a lot to Jair Alexander. That's who I think he plays like. But he's bigger. At the pro day, this is my first time seeing his numbers. I saw that he was 6 foot, even 192, 93 pounds. Then he ran in the 4.3s. I'm like, oh, there's something there. Like, this is big time. So, I really like him. I like what I saw on film. Alabama's not gonna like that, because I bumped Surtain down to 4. But so I'm pretty sure I'll get a bunch of messages from them telling me that I'm an idiot and I don't know anything. But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I know you said you watched a little bit on him, so just give me, from what you've seen, your thoughts from what you've seen on Elijah Molden, because he's another guy we've interviewed.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a guy's like, is he a safety? Is he a nickel? Well, shoot, you could just be both, right?
Yeah.
He plays there in the slot. I think he's physical. I think he has that quick twitch and change of direction and everything. I think he does that stuff very well. I like the aggressiveness that he played with. Now, again, I haven't watched a lot of him and Taylor. I have to get to as well. This is probably the most in-depth I've gotten with each prospect. So it's like, it's taking me a little bit longer to get through guys. I'm like, okay, I got another month before the combine or whatever. I mean, before the draft. But I'm banging through them. But I know initially I typically like to kind of get an idea of who somebody is. And when I was watching Molden, I know I liked him. I wasn't turned off by him. So, from that standpoint, he's somebody that I like. But after I watch him, and get a little bit more in depth, I'll be able to come back on the show and tell you a little bit more about him.
All right, let's switch gears to wide receivers. And before we get into the draft class, because I know the Chase stuff is gonna be what people, and let's be honest, you're gonna make up for the Surtain eval with your Smith eval. I have a feeling. There's been a lot of rumors and a lot of smoke about the Dolphins being linked to Kenny Golladay. Just your quick thoughts on Kenny Golladay, the player.
I really like him. I think he, because he has the big body and all that, and he can make those contested catches and everything. I think his route running ability is a little overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's the total package. Obviously, he's going to be a bunch of money. It changes for each team, but it depends on your salary cap and where you're at with your cap and everything. But I probably because receivers are coming in and making more of an impact right away, I'd be a little less, urgent to pay a guy, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 million dollars a year. I mean, Golladay might get 20 million a year. I don't know. It might be up there, So, it's tough, especially when you're the Dolphins, you're at pick 3, you have your pick of whatever receiver you want. So it's like, okay, we could draft whatever receiver we want or pay Golladay 20 million.
Ooh, we lost him there, people. Right in the middle of him, of Eric giving us a really good feedback, and he's making a lot of great points on how deep this class is. So he's back though, so we're good.
Okay, yeah, my bad. I don't know what happened.
You were in the middle of a great little point making there too, brother. Keep it up.
So like I was saying, if I'm the Dolphins, and then it kind of contradicts how I feel about taking guys in the top, but just with where the Dolphins are right now, they have their pick of receivers, and receivers have been able to come into the league right now and make an impact. And even with where y'all are, it's not like you need somebody to come in and it's like, hey, you got to be the number one. It's like, no, we got Parker. You know what I'm saying? He's a good receiver. You got other guys that have contributed, whether it's Williams. I think, is he coming off an injury? I think.
Yeah.
And then there's Grant, if you guys still have him. So there are guys that you guys have. So I think that's even more incentive to just go the draft route. Now, saying that, I personally would not take one of these receivers at 3.
Agreed.
And I know a lot of people, I've seen Chase projected there. I've even seen Devontae Smith projected there. I would not take a receiver at 3. I think that guys are, you can draft a guy at 20 and he can come in and he can be productive and he can be really good. Obviously, we saw that last year with Justin Jefferson. And I don't want to use just Jefferson. Look at T. Higgins. He came in. T. Higgins quietly had a really good year for the Bengals.
Yeah.
And I want to say he had like 900 receiving yards and he missed like some of the last game or whatever. Had a chance to go over 1,000. Like there are guys who were being, coming in, drafted, not even the top 3 guys. I'm talking about even outside that. Brandon Ayuk, me being a 49er fan, he missed 4 games and still had like 800 yards or whatever and like scored 7 touchdowns. So like I'd be a little hesitant to just like, oh, well, we need receivers, so I'm gonna draft a receiver at 3.
Agreed.
I wouldn't do that. Me personally. I'd either take a tackle like Sewell's or something like, or trade back. And I just think the positional value at that position, especially, don't the Dolphins have another pick later in the first round?
The 18th.
Yeah, I mean, so me personally, I'm let me get me a bona fide offensive, left tackle that's gonna hold it down for a long time. And I don't know y'all situation there, but I know y'all did have the guy.
Austin Jackson. We have Austin Jackson there right now.
Okay, he's from USC, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see. But even then, I think right tackle is just as important. So if y'all don't have a right tackle, and again, I don't know, but I know y'all had the kid from the one that got caught with the gas mask and all that smoking.
Oh, Larry Tunsil.
Yeah. So y'all traded him away, and but I think just the offensive line, it's you got. I would take more of that, like that. I just think the positional value there is more important. And then let me get a receiver at 18. And from there, you're still getting guys that are very productive at that position. And I don't think there's, obviously all these guys are good, but I think they're all different. And I think they win different ways. And I think the way that Chase wins is going to be different than the way that Devontae Smith wins. And that's going to be different than the way that Waddle or Bateman or any of these other guys. But I think they're all going to win. I think they all have the ability to win. So you just got to figure out who can help from that standpoint. Any of these guys can be 1,000-yard receivers. So I just for positional value, I wouldn't take a guy that high. That's just my opinion.
Brother, you are talking right now for about since last year, since before the draft, I've been basically pushing the Penei Sewell narrative. If we can land in a spot to pick him, like I think this guy's going to, I don't never say this. This is the first guy in 2 years of me really starting to put my evaluations public to people. He's the first guy I've said, I think he can get a gold jacket. And everyone knows, you go back to October 2019, Tristan Wirfs was my OT1 in October 2019, when everyone was Andrew Thomas, all that nonsense, I was saying, no, Wirf's that dude, and I got a higher eval on Sewell than I do Wirf's. All right, so just going here quickly. Okay, so before the last question, before we get into the receivers in this class, are you a fan of Juju Smith-Schuster and what he brings to the slot? Same question with Curtis Samuel.
I like Juju, but not if what the price is, what I saw people saying he's gonna get.
16
I ain't
million
paying him that.
Year.
Yeah, I'm not. Nah, I'm staying away from that. I'm not paying any of these. I'm getting these receivers in the draft are coming in and they're being very productive. So again, I'm not saying somebody's gonna come in and be Juju Smith, and but I'd much rather go the lower end when I'm thinking the salary cap. Like if I'm gonna put a lot of money into resources, get you an edge rusher. Go pay Ngakoue or somebody, or get you go get the tackle from the 49 Trent Williams. Like, what I'm saying? Like, go get something where it's like, okay, it's really hard to replace this type of production from this player. As far as receivers go, unless we're talking about Julio Jones or something, like, dude, I don't need to like pay Juju Smith. And I like Juju. I'm not saying he's sorry or something like that. I'm just saying I'm not paying Juju $16 million a year when, again, I can take a receiver in this first round and I can get good production out of him. I don't think Juju is just like, it's just like I gotta have, like, now if we talking about prime Odell Beckham or something, like, okay, yeah, now we had that conversation. Or even like Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson might be somebody where it's like, okay, Allen Robinson. But Juju, he's solid. I like him. He was very productive when he had AB next to him. And obviously, the last couple of years, the quarterback situation been kind of up and down. So there is context with some of his drop-off in his production. But, who's to say that is it going to be worth $16 million a year on the Dolphins? Like, I can't. I'm going more the rookie route. That's just me personally.
Okay. All right. Let's hop into the draft. So I dropped my wide receiver big board a couple weeks ago, and I had JaMarr Chase as my wide receiver 4. I've actually shown your breakdown of the Clemson game, your Twitter thread on this channel as well, just to back me up, because I got a ton of pushback on JaMarr Chase. My top 4 basically went Waddle, Smith, Bateman. Then it went Chase, and then my 5th guy was Rondell Moore. And that's because I didn't have Pitts listed as a wide receiver. He's
a tight end, man. He's a tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
I know people. He's a tight end.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think they do that. Hold on, real quick before we get it. I think they do because he's such a good receiver.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, he's a bad blocker. And now again, you can pick out plays here and there where you can push the narrative that he's a terrible blocker. But he's not. Like, I watched in every game I watched, and I specifically watched for Pitts to see what type of blocker he is, because that's what I'm hearing the weakness is. And I was like, no, he's a very serviceable blocker. Is he George Kittle? Like, nah. But he is a much better run blocker than I think people give him credit for. So, no, dude, Pitts, he's a tight end, and he gives you that position versatility to, when he's out there, say you got 2 backs and you have Pitts out there. Okay, well, you're thinking that's 21 personnel. But you can split them out and put him in a slot, and now all of a sudden you have a linebacker matched up on him or a safety, and I think that benefits him. But then, that doesn't matter for the Dolphins because you guys have a tight end. But I'm just saying in general, for most people. So now he's a tight end, and you want to use him as such. He's a solid blocker, not nearly as bad as people say. But go ahead, proceed. Sorry.
No, before we go to give our Chase, I want to pick your brain on Pitts one more thing. Do you think this guy goes in the top 10?
I take him in the top 10 before I take a receiver in the top 10. Now, I don't know if he's going to go in the top 10, but that I just think there's more like receivers that are, you know what I'm saying? Like that is like, well, I can see any of these guys being, the top most productive rookie receiver, right? There's probably 7 guys who can be the most productive rookie receiver. Whereas tight end is like, no, this dude's a unicorn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of a kind. Like, there's not these 6'6", whatever, 245, 250 pounds, whatever he is, that's fluid like he is, and his ability to catch. I mean, at the high point, he's a good route runner, fluid in space, being able to do all those things. I would take him in the top. And that's not to say I wouldn't take a receiver top 10, but I would take him top 10 before I took a receiver top 10. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you, man. You can line him up on the boundary. You can line him up in the slot. You can put him in line. He's like literally the definition of a mismatch nightmare. And you know what? I know we got Gesicki, but we are one of the teams. We were top 5 this year in running 12-man personnel. So, you know, he makes sense if you think about it, right? All right. So back to JaMarr Chase. Again, I had him as my wide receiver 4. I don't know exactly where you have him stacked up, but the floor is yours, my friend. I want you to give me all your thoughts on JaMarr Chase because you've seen it clearly. All these mock drafts of us having us draft JaMarr Chase at 3. And I'm going to add something to your thought process. Justin Jefferson was listed as 6'3" by LSU. Hit the combine, got measured at 6'1". Okay. He's listed as 6'1" in terms of Chase by LSU. I don't know if you saw the picture that came out with Devontae, Justin Jefferson, and then Chase. Chase is clearly about 1.5 inches, 2 inches shorter than him when they were all lined up and they were in socks, not on cleats. If he measures in at 5'11", and you know his skill set, elite traits at the ball, I guess you could say at the catch point, really that's where he is. That's a specialized. If he comes in at 5'11", he runs a 4.5. Are we still talking about the hyped up kid that these people have are just crazy about?
I think maybe people might like question certain things that they're seeing a little bit. Now, I think he's going to be faster than the 4.5. You know, the thing with him that kind of like pops right away, he doesn't play fast, you know? So when you just watch him, it's like he's kind of like moving in slow motion a little bit. And he like Surtain, he doesn't have much twitch and suddenness. But when you watch him run vertically, you see his ability to kind of maybe, stack some guys and give them a little something. And you see guys kind of struggle to keep up with him. We saw that with AJ Terrell. And, so he definitely can win vertical from that sense. So I know he can run. And then, there's some plays where I was watching. Who was I watching him against? Vanderbilt? Wake Forest. Probably Vanderbilt because they're SEC. Where it's like, oh, boom, catch a crosser, and he just outruns everybody to the end zone, So he definitely has speed. He just plays hella slow. If that makes sense, like prior to the ball being in his hands. Now with Chase, and everybody looks to his numbers, and they see his numbers, and they're like, oh, these are amazing, right? Like there could possibly be someone better than him. And then they look at breakout, and, oh, he did it at 19. Like he's only going to get better. And it's like, okay, like we had the conversation about Trevor Lawrence, right? And the kind of how people kind of perceive that whole thing, but I will say, yes, like Chase is a good prospect. But I see somebody saying that he's a good route runner and his route running is underappreciated. He is not a good route runner.
Thank you.
Like he's not a good route runner. Chase, and I told you this before we started, Chase is somebody in the first prospect I've kind of seen, or at least in the recent years, to be able to say this, he wins the same way he loses. So I don't think I've seen a guy where his strength is his weakness. And it kind of reminds me of like an old Anquan Bolden or like an older Des Bryant, right? Where like a lot of what he has to do or the way he has to win has to kind of be more like contested. So what people see is, and it's crazy that they'll knock Devontae Smith for something that hasn't even shown up to be a problem, right? Oh, Devontae Smith, he's like, people are going to press him. They're going to get hands on him, and he's not going to be able to win. We haven't even seen guys really be able to press him, right? Like there might be a clip here and there where, you'll see him get pressed, but it's very rare. Well, Chase, you watch him, and you see him, guys consistently get hands on him. Now, what people will tell you is, oh, well, people consistently got hands on him, but, he plays through, he enjoys it. Like he loves the contact. He's able to play through it. And yes, that's true. I mean, I don't know about him loving it, but yes, he's able to play through contact. That is true. And he's able to be strong at the catch point. That is true. That's his strength. But the same way he wins is the same way he loses. And what people miss out on is there'll be plays of him playing through the contact and playing well. And there are a lot of plays where he doesn't win. He doesn't win from that standpoint. And if you watch Auburn, you kind of see the best of both worlds. Or even the Clemson game. But I'll talk about the Auburn game first, where he won vertically with his strength and his power and his ability to out physical a guy. And then they come back and they throw the same thing, and boom, that one gets intercepted and that one's getting picked off, because that's how he has to win. So one, he's definitely gonna have to have a quarterback who trusts his ability to throw those tight window throws. So he's gonna need that. But two, I think he's gonna have to really hone in on at some point trying to either figure out how to get more separation with routes, or he's going to have a team is going to have to be a little bit more creative with maybe moving him around to where he gets more free releases, and then he's able to use his athleticism from that standpoint. Because I do think he's really athletic. And I think his balance, his ability to adjust to balls in the air and those things is really good. It's great. I think his ability to catch, like, all that's really good. But the same way he bullies people, he gets bullied as well. And people don't say that because he wins that way. So they don't use that as a knock against him. But there are plenty of plays where he gets erased, or there are plenty of plays where, because he can't get separation, he has to make these contested catches on slants and the ball's getting broken up. There are a million examples of this, and people overlook it. I don't overlook anything. And again, with me, it's nothing personal on the prospect. I don't care. I just talk about what I see. Mm-hmm. And because this isn't with the narrative of what everyone else is pushing, which is Chase is the best receiver prospect in the last 4 years or whatever, and he's the next Julio Jones, because I'm not saying those things about him, is like I get a lot of pushback. But I like him. I like the way he wins. He's just not my ideal receiver. And I think that there's a way that, you know, people are going to have to figure out exactly how to use him. Maybe use him like LSU did. You know, now they were a more spread out offense. You know, they did a good job of kind of getting matchups where he'd be one-on-one, and then he could out physical guys. But again, the same way he won, the same way he lost. And people need to kind of keep that in perspective. I can show you guys from the Clemson game plenty of plays where obviously we saw him win down the field, but there are other plays a lot of times where he got locked up. And you don't see that a lot. I can watch film. Remember, I watch guys away from the ball and when they're throwing the ball. You can watch a lot of other receivers, and you can see them clear separation. The quarterback just went somewhere else. Oh, he was open. Quarterback just went somewhere else. When Chase isn't getting the ball, there's no separation. He's just trapped. So again, I'm not saying that the way he wins isn't going to work in the NFL. I'm just saying I pause on him being like this great prospect, and I'm interested to see how someone eventually uses him at the next level. Not saying he won't be good. Not saying he won't be terrific, but I definitely wouldn't take him at 3. I'm not taking him at 3.
Yeah. I like it. So just quickly, because I know you've only watched a little tiny bit on him, you know, Rashad Bateman, he's my wide receiver 3. He's my wide receiver man crush of this draft, him and Rondell Moore. Just quickly, from what you've seen, the little bit you've watched on him, what are your thoughts on him quickly on what you've seen of him so far? Because I know you haven't done a full deep dive eval yet.
Oh, one second, real quick. I'll get to him real quick. I forgot one thing about Chase. Ask some of the guys that he has played against. And I know I've seen it on TV. Oh, Chase is best. But I talked to some DBs from this class, and they would rather guard Chase than Devontae Smith. And I'm talking about big physical corners. They would now again, that's not to say that they won't lose the matchup against Chase, but they would rather guard Chase than Devontae Smith. And I'm talking about big physical corners. So I think the way that they look at it is with Chase, I'm okay. It might be a dogfight, but at least I know at the end of it, I'm gonna be in position to make a play. Now, whether I make the play or he makes the play, that's where we're gonna see who wins. But they're not worried about him just whooping them and running off on them. Whereas Devontae Smith, he's more fluid, quicker, twitchier, sudden, and all of a sudden, he's making DBs fall on the ground with his routes and things like that. Like, that's just harder. So again, that's a little nugget, you know what I'm saying, for people. But again, yeah, and I see somebody not overrated, just hyped. Yes. I don't think that Chase is overrated.
Just overhyped.
He's overrated in the sense of everybody has a number 1, and I don't think he's 1. So I mean, for that, he's overrated because I don't have him rated that high. But I think he is more hyped definitely then overrated because
Ooh.
they not only say, oh, he's just the best receiver in his class, they think he's like the best in years. And that I can't give him that. Like I like if you had DK Metcalf and Chase in the same class, like I'm taking DK Metcalf 10 out of 10 times, and I had DK as my number one. I think he's more comparable to AJ Brown, but AJ Brown and those guys had a terrible offensive system. They had a terrible quarterback. They had all that. You know what I'm saying? Put AJ Brown and DK Metcalf with Joe Burrow, with Joe Brady spread out offense, and like what does AJ Brown do now? What does he look like now? And at 6 foot, 230 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, off of Chase, but to Bateman.
Bro,
Bateman
hold on a sec. You bringing up Joe Brady. You do not know how many times I've tried to get through people's head that they do not realize the space this man was manufacturing and the level he was manufacturing it at. People do not know those kind of nuances. And I tried to tell them Chase really lived off manufactured separation a lot of space a lot of the time, but no one wanted to hear it. So hearing you bring him up.
Here's a perfect example. And I'm not saying that everything was like this, but today I kind of started to get in a little back and forth with somebody that I'm not going to do it, right? Because they were talking about somebody had tweeted out like, they tweeted out JaMarr Chase destroyed AJ Terrell, CJ Henderson, Patrick Surtain, and Stephon Diggs. And I was like, yeah, man, he had terrific games against those teams, but he did not destroy CJ Henderson, and he did not destroy Patrick Surtain. He didn't. And people are, oh man, he had this and that. So let's talk about again context and like film. When he was playing against CJ Henderson, you might look at the box scores and say 7 catches, 120 some yards, or whatever, 2 touchdowns, right? And you can look at them and see who's credited for those 2 touchdowns, and then they'll probably say CJ Henderson. But what doesn't show is one was a 5-yard, it was a 5-yard slant, and Henderson just played off and backed up into the end zone, and he just caught a slant, and it was like stupid. But I look at that from a coaching standpoint. Like, hey, CJ Henderson, plant your feet at the 1, don't move, play more catch, and then make him, play through the contact from there. Like that, to me, that's easily catchable. I don't think it was like, oh, this guy just did something great. And then the other touchdown, which was like a 55-yard touchdown, they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think it was him. It was a running back on the outside. They had JaMarr Chase in the slot, and they did this against Alabama as well on the play that was completed on Patrick Surtain. But they had JaMarr Chase in the slot. They had Clyde Edwards-Helaire or whatever on the outside. They run Clyde into the defender and have Chase wheel route off of that.
Like a pick play almost.
And it's a pick play, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's a rub route pretty much. And it had because the running back got so close to CJ kind of went around that and then ran into his teammate. And then next thing you know, Chase is wide open for a 60-yard touchdown. So people will look at the stats and, he had 2 touchdowns, he had this and that. But it's like before that catch, he had 3 catches for 20 yards on CJ Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Who played him in the slot, played him outside. I mean, got physical with him, boom, pressing him. Like, you're not even getting off this route. Like, all these things. And those things kind of go, like, underappreciated from that standpoint because everybody just notices when somebody loses on the big play. But even then, like, with CJ Henderson, it's like, dude, we're late in the 4th quarter. And you had 3 catches for 20 yards on me when I'm guarding you most of this game. And 2 of those catches were on RPO slants.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Now, there were 2 missed tackles by CJ Henderson where CJ Henderson was outside. Chase was in the slot. Chase did a 5-yard out. CJ Henderson came down and he missed the tackle. So, I mean, okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't guarding him originally, but the other stuff, yeah. So that's that. Joe Brady had a big, I don't want to say he just freed him up because, again, a lot of how Chase won was being able to play through contact. So it wasn't like a lot of times Chase was just schemed wide open. I think he wins how he wins. The issue is same way he wins, he loses that way, and people don't notice the losing reps because they notice he won on this rep. So is that going to be consistent at the next level? We'll see. You know what I'm saying? But I would like to see a little bit more of ability to separate. But again, I mean, we probably said these same type of things about AJ Brown. AJ Brown just wasn't in as great of an offense. So
yeah. All right. So yeah, just your quick thoughts on Bateman, brother.
Yeah. watching Bateman, and I've been seeing a lot of hype on him, and I just started kind of diving into like his no, I watched his. See, I don't think I watched his 2020 film yet. I was watching 2019, so I don't want to just judge him based off of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But I know my initial thoughts were he is not like I saw somebody like, oh, he's Keenan Allen, and I'm watching. I'm like, nah, this ain't Keenan Allen, but he's solid. I think he does a lot of things good. I'll tell you this about him. I remember watching Johnson the year before, and everybody was telling me, oh, Johnson, he's this, he's that, right? Number 6.
Tyler Johnson?
And Tyler Johnson, right? And I remember, so I'm watching it, and I remember just thinking, why are you guys telling me about Tyler Johnson? Number 13 is better than him. Like, who is 13? That's the better pro prospect. Like, whoever 13 is, he's better than Tyler Johnson. So I knew that off rip, like, this guy's better. Now, obviously, going into this year, there was a lot of hype. I don't want to say hype, but there was a lot of buzz surrounding his name and some of his abilities. I really like what he brings to the table. Again, I don't think it's a flashy game, but I think he does everything extremely well. I think he runs routes well. I think his ability to catch and run after catch, well. Obviously, I want to say he ran a 40 and timed like extremely fast or something like that.
I think it was a 4.37 hand and a 4.39 laser at the Exos combine.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know if he plays at that speed, and that's kind of like Justin Jefferson, where I'm like 4.43. Like, I don't think Justin Jefferson plays that fast, but I think he plays fast enough. Mm-hmm. And I think he can run. Like, he's not some stiff and stuff like that. So I just watching him, he does a lot of things very well from what I've seen so far. And again, I have not watched his 2020 film. I would like to get to that before really, kind of coming to like an overall conclusion on him. But I know so far what I've seen, I like what his skill set is. Now it's just like, okay, what's the upside with what I'm seeing? And I won't know that until I watch more 2020 film.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Okay, I only got a couple more questions for you before we get out of here. All right, so let's start off with, what's your evaluation of Devontae Smith? Does his weight concern you like some others are trying to make a big deal of?
No. I think my question would be, has he shown that his weight is any type of an issue? Right? Like, we've seen guys try to press him. We've seen some of the best of them, right? I mean, look at Stingley line up and press. It was never an issue. I think his versatility is really good with his ability to play on the outside. Defeat press, he can line up on the line. He can line up off. You can motion him. He runs routes very well. He's extremely smooth from that standpoint. He has really good acceleration. For some reason, people question his long speed. I don't know why. Doesn't look like any type of an issue with me. He's actually running away from guys. I've seen him break guys' angles and run to the end zone. So, I don't know. It's really weird. I think a lot of people, if we were talking about him being 190, he would be viewed as the greatest prospect in recent years, right? Yeah. But because he's 175, maybe, even if he's that much, people start throwing on this stuff on him that has never shown to be any type of an issue. And the dude plays extremely big. And what I mean by that, the analytical world, they hate me for using that phrase, that term. But I mean, I've been using that all my life. And what all that means is, a big guy, he can play big. A small guy, he can play big. A small guy can play small. A big guy can play small. I didn't care for Hollywood Brown. I thought he played too small. You know what I'm saying? George Kittle plays big after the catch, plays small when the ball's in the air. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so but with Devontae Smith, I've never seen a situation where his lack of weight or even not being the biggest guy, I mean, he plays just as big as anybody in this class. When the ball's in the air, he goes up and gets it. It doesn't matter who's the corner or whatever. He's played against really good corners in the SEC as well. And he destroys everybody. He destroys them. And then you play Ohio State, and they move them all around. They do all these different things, but you have no answers. He had 200 yards in the first half. Like, you have no answers for him. But people want to use breakout age, even though he was their most productive receiver as a junior at 21 years old. He was the most productive receiver. People be like, oh, well, he had Judy and Ruggs. And it's like, dude, he was the best receiver there. And I said that before the year even started. I was like, that was the best receiver. I was surprised he didn't come out. Then come to find out, he didn't come out because he promised his mom he'd graduate college before he left to the NFL. That's why he didn't come out last year. So, watching Smith, again, I don't look at height, weight, all that type of stuff before watching him. Obviously, I knew what he was. But if you just put on the film and you just take notes, right? Like I don't know how much he weighs. I don't know his height, anything like that. I'm just putting on the film and I'm just noting everything that I see. You would think this is the for sure wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Now, once you add his weight into there, that's where the questions start popping up for people. I don't care about the weight. Now, what people would tell me is, well, if he plays well, he's an outlier. And it's like, well, yeah, he's only going to be an outlier because you factored in his weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't factor in his weight, if you just look at him as a prospect, which is how I viewed him, you would say he's really good and he's going to be good in the NFL. And because they can't press him. They can't do anything like that. Like, again, they talk about him at the line of scrimmage like he's JaMarr Chase. JaMarr Chase struggles with being pressed. He struggles being consistent there. It has not have been an issue. I think there was one rep where he really got manhandled at the line of scrimmage against like Missouri or something like that. Outside of that, or it was like Tennessee or somebody. I haven't seen it. And there's been enough film to where if this was something that would be an issue, and I'm talking about on a play-to-play basis, like even when he's not being thrown the ball, he's still open. And he does all the other little things extremely well. He's very polished. You know what I'm saying? So I really like him. That would probably be the receiver I take, first off the board. Obviously there's guys like, Jalen Waddle. If Bateman was the most productive receiver as a rookie, I wouldn't be surprised if, Brown from UNC was the most productive. Anybody can be the most productive. That's how, they just all have different skill sets, and it's going to matter about where they land and all those type of things. But, I like a lot of what Smith brings to the table.
Yeah, and he's one of the best. He's easily one of the best route runners in this class. And I know we've talked about Twitch today. Like, his Twitch is crazy. Like, his body control, and it's crazy. All right, so 2 more questions for you. And the last one is going to be what a lot of Dolphin fans are going to perk up. And just to add to your size comments, Mark Clayton is one of the best receivers in Miami Dolphin history. He played at 5'9", 177. So in a much tougher era, right, through the 80s and such. So, are we really gonna, start nitpicking? Anyways,
it's only an issue because they're speculating, and maybe they might be right. I don't know, but to me, I haven't seen anything that says his weight will be an issue. I've seen him take shots. I've seen him make catches while taking big hits. I've seen him always pop up, and after taking the big shot, and he's playing against, even playing against, Ohio State or somebody who did I see slamming them around? I saw somebody like Georgia or something like that. These are NFL dudes he's playing against, or guys that are going to beat. So yeah, that stuff, man. It's that weight thing. We'll see, but I don't see why it's in it. Like Ocho Cinco said, I saw somebody in the comments. Ocho Cinco said he played at like 170 something,
175.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So wasn't ever an issue for Ocho.
No,
and he was never injured. So
and in his prime, he was damn near untouchable, right?
Right. So what are we talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree, bro. All right. So last 2 questions. Let's start off with none. Have you had a chance to watch Jalen Waddle or Rondell Moore, and your thoughts on either one of those guys?
I haven't watched Moore as much. I put on this tape a little bit just to kind of see who he is, and I know he is somebody who obviously is an explosive runner. Played a lot in the slot, and one thing I have to say about guys who play in the slot is they get more favorable matchups. So it's kind of hard for me to know who he is right now because he plays so much in the slot. He's not facing man press a lot. He's playing against more linebackers and safeties in space, and obviously he's an explosive athlete. Really fast, strong, all that. So I don't have that. That was just kind of what I took away from the little bit I've seen, but I haven't watched enough to be able to dive deep into him. And then Waddle, I have watched Waddle, not evaluating him, more so guys he was going against like Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell and those guys. And I'll say this: everybody thought Henry Ruggs was, oh, this is Tyreek Hill, right? And I'm like, no, he's not. Like, he's more of a long strider. He struggles to use his speed as a threat en route. Obviously, Ruggs can catch a slant and take it to the crib because he's fast in that way. But when you just watch guys play against him consistently, they're getting hands on. They're guarding him as if he's not fast. So he didn't have the threat. His high end control speed wasn't very high, if that makes sense. So en route. Yeah. When it comes to Waddle, he's as twitched up as they come. Like, he's not the long strider as Ruggs. Like, and again, I don't want to say that Waddle is Tyreek Hill, but if I've seen anything that's close to it, he's the closest thing to it. He's twitched up. His change of direction is terrific. His ability to hit routes full speed and break off routes. Like, one route he did it against it was like Delpit. He had Delpit in space, and I was like, whoa. Now on that play, it was a play, and if you guys want to watch this play, it was Devontae Smith caught the go route on Stingley on the sideline when he jumped over Stingley and made that sideline catch. Mm-hmm. But if you go back and watch that play and watch Waddle, and he hits Delpit with this left, and go and cross. Oh my God, it was beautiful. I said, oh my gosh, like, how did he do this at that speed? So he has a different type of twitch and movement skills and ability, and then his ability to really jump up, attack the ball, high point. Like,
no one talks about it. Yeah, no one talks.
Yeah, he's a freak. He plays above the rim. He tracks the balls in extremely well. We saw it against Missouri. He outran the nickel and the safety, and it was like, Mac Jones was like, okay, I'm just gonna float it out there, and he tracked it in while having two guys on him. And then the way he jumps up. I get excited about him because if there's anybody that's like Tyreek Hill, it's him. There's not a lot. I won't say that about any other guy just because somebody's fast or they show they have speed in the open field. How do they run routes? And that's the one thing that separates Tyreek Hill from a lot of guys. He's jittery. He's twitched up. He has good routes. He's able to consistently use the speed as a threat in route. Waddle was somebody that does something like that. That's the closest thing I've seen to it.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go off the cuff. I'm guessing Devontae Smith and Waddle are probably your wide receiver 1 and your wide receiver 2?
I think so, but I'm not as far in my receiver rankings because I've been getting so much into my the cornerbacks and like watching those and breaking those guys down on my Patreon. But if I know Smith is 1. I'm not sure how I have guys after that. I really don't know just yet.
All right. And because you mentioned his name, Eric Stokes' 40 must have got you really excited, eh? When you saw that 4.25 come through.
It was really good, but he was somebody, and I mentioned it in my breakdown of him on Patreon. He was a 100-meter state champ. He was a 200-meter state champ. So this is somebody that definitely can fly. He was like a 10.3 in high school. Yeah. So I know he can run. Obviously, when you see 4.25 roll across the screen, that's and his counterpart, Tyson Campbell, that 6'2", that's a big corner, like 6'2", 190, whatever he is, tall guy. He too was a 10.3 in 100. Yeah, so we're talking about somebody. He has gas too, but Eric Stokes. Just kind of watching him, I thought he's a little tight with his movement skills, but when he's right, it looks really good. I think he, for the most part, plays with good technique. We saw kind of Devontae Smith be able to, jump over him, jump on his head, catch the ball for a touchdown. But I thought he did a good job consistently of contesting passes and challenging receivers and all that. And we saw the pick 6 against Florida. I think he did a really good job there, really just peeling off of the route that he was covering and being able to jump that ball. I don't even think that pass was intended for his receiver. So good instincts. Again, he's another guy that works with Oliver Davis, cornerback guru that J.C. Horn trains with, and some of these other guys. So I like him. I'm not in love with him. A little tight for me. I would expect him to be able to be a little bit more fluid, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, brother. So my last question for you: what are your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa?
I wasn't as high on him. Again, I didn't watch him.
Specifically, you watched the players around him, right?
I watched Judy. I watched Ruggs. Mm-hmm. Now watching him, I did think he did things well. I think the thing that kind of really jumped out the most was his ability, like RPOs. Like he was money with RPOs, and he could throw the deep ball. Now, maybe some of what you guys are seeing this year, I mean, we're talking about somebody who didn't have an offseason, had a big hip injury, which was, crazy. So I think there are a lot of people that want to jump off the bandwagon of Tua and trade him away. I would give him time. I would give him time. I would assume with the offseason and really getting his mind right with the NFL and everything and all that, I'd expect him to have a better year than his rookie year. And his rookie year wasn't bad. It just looked like somebody that was trying to get acclimated to the NFL, and maybe things were moving a little fast for him.
Yeah. All right, brother. I appreciate you for coming on, but here's your chance. I want you to go ahead. I'm going to put your Twitter up on the screen. So go ahead, plug any eval you have, plug your Patreon. Go ahead. The floor is yours, my friend.
All right, so my Patreon is obviously, that's what I'm pushing the most because it gives people to subscribe for it. But you guys want to get these type of breakdowns and I have video evidence of a lot of guys we've talked about today. JaMarr Chase, Eric Stokes. I have some. I post teach tape stuff. So I'll post sometimes I'll just post a specific clip, and then we'll talk about that clip on why it played out the way it did. As we go, I've been doing more of the evaluations just because it's draft time right now, and I just started this a few weeks ago, a month ago. So the more we get into it, I'll start getting into more specific things. Right now, there's a ton of just evaluations. They're about 10 minutes long. I have Asante Samuel Jr., Patrick Surtain, Greg Newsome. There's a bunch of them. Y'all just gonna have to check them out. All right. So and then I have a podcast that I do on there as well. Where just talking football and whatnot. I'll have to have you on one time, just talk some Dolphin football. But make sure you guys subscribe to my Patreon account. That is patreon.com/croctalk. And yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's good stuff. And I try to take the what the people want. You guys are paying for it, so it's let me give them what they want. So if there's suggestions or people that you guys want to hear about and whatnot, or anything, a breakdown on stuff, your wish is my command. So make sure you guys subscribe. Again, patreon.com/croctalk. Subscribe to that. And then obviously, follow me on Twitter at Eric_Crocker. Also have the Crocker Report, crockerreport.com. Make sure you guys follow that Twitter account. I appreciate y'all, man. I've been looking at the comments and stuff. People have been showing love. So that's what's up, man. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, man, they really loved your evals and just you going in. I know Rome was calling you the pastor over here because he loved how you were preaching on a Saturday night. And he loved what you're putting down.
Yeah.
But guys, I just literally before we went live, I joined his $20 level of his Patreon because I've seen this man's work just on Twitter alone. I know he's got the Asante Samuel breakdown. I want to dive into everything. He does great work, guys. He's definitely worth looking into on Patreon. Man, I appreciate you so much for coming on, brother. I really do, man.
Oh, man, I thank you. And again, I know you subscribe to the $20 one. There's a $10 one you guys can subscribe to. And then there's also a $3 one, but the $3 one, you'll get some I do film studies too. That's a cool thing. So everything that we're talking about right now, I think what I'll do tomorrow is I'm going to do JaMarr Chase. And what it is everybody that's subscribed to my Patreon account, we will I send out a link to everybody and we can all watch the film together. And I'll be watching JaMarr Chase and everybody in there. You guys are able to talk and we discuss what we're seeing. I talk about my process and how I see things. So yeah, I think about with my Patreon account, I try to make it as great of an experience of somebody, that you're subscribing to. So people aren't I'm just wasting $10 a month. I want people to be like, damn, this is a well spent $10 a month. I might spend this on a bag of chips, but instead I'm gaining knowledge on prospects, technique, and obviously podcasts. Actually, I have a guest coming on this week for a podcast. We're going to dive into the psychology behind sports, depression and all that. She goes to school. She went to school for all that and stuff. So, I'm even bringing topics like that to my podcast that's specifically for the Patreon. So yeah, make sure y'all subscribe, man. Subscribe to that patreon.com/croctalk.
Yes, sir. Brother, I subscribed when I saw that I was going to get a phone call. No, I'm just joking.
Oh yeah. Hey man,
I'm
you
joking.
get a phone call too, man. Y'all, whatever y'all want.
Bro. I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, I just gotta support great content, man. So definitely you got my support. And Florida born, Kentucky grown, donated $2. He said, much love, brother. Thank you for all of your knowledge. And man, I gotta echo that same too. Thank you. And I love and appreciate you for coming on, man. I appreciate you so much, Croc. Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate y'all, man. It was good. It was fun.
Have a good night, brother.
All right, have a good one.
Guys, you definitely need to go check him out. Patreon.com/Croc Talk. I'm going to post it. Rhino has it up here. You can check it out right there. You can follow that Patreon link. Go check him out. He's definitely worth the follow, man. Does great stuff. Does really good stuff. All right, guys. So there's still about 210 of you in the room right now. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Obviously, you can donate through PayPal, paypal.me/Phinside. Obviously, you can join my own Patreon, patreon.com/Phinside the NFL, patchvibes.com. You can use code Phinside for 20% off your purchase right now. Of course, grab official Phinside the NFL merch right now, teespring.com/stores/Phinside the NFL. And I want to shout out all 37 of our Patreons before we get out here, as well as the members. So shout out to the Patreons: Rhino Sith, Fake Spike 94, K All Day, Ramon Casillas, Seth, Slim Pickens, Ricketic, Victor, Scott Ramos, Red Dino, Marino's Goat, Conflict, Keith Davis, your boy Trev, Josh, Tranquilize, Jazza 803, Martin, Zovegas 75, the Arkham Elf, Irving, Drew Boo, the show, Jawar Thompson, and Jawar, I have seen you try to reach me. Don't worry, I'll hit you back, brother. Jeff Dick, My T Dolphin, Ben Glassford, Andre Villarreal, Cody, J Love T, Todd, the enigmatic one, Chalk Vanilla Straw, Georgie Boy 23, Don Wayne, CT Hypertrophy, Ty Rhodes, and Florida born, Kentucky grown. And then, of course, let's thank and shout out every single YouTube member that signed up, because you guys have absolutely signed up at a crazy rate right now. It's been humbling to watch all of you sign up, because we're sitting at about 39 members right now. So I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys have just shown so much love, so I got to give you guys your shout out. Of course, Damian Deese, your boy Trev, Talkin' Vegas all day, MFNs, Ricketic, Greg A, Irving Figura, K All Day, Seth. And guys, just to let you know, I added the 10th emoji today. So Drew Boo, Rhino Sith, Twizzle, Law 100-442, obviously the homie Derek Higgins, who shows as much love as he can. He comes up here when he can. Appreciate you for holding it down continuously, man, because I know you're one of the day ones out here too. Timothy, appreciate all the support you show on Twitter, my friend. Yawabulla, Bruce, Foxing Around, Marino's Goat, and I still got more of you to name off here. Dr. Draft, Timothy, Joey Butters, Nico, Mighty Dolphin, Chef Jew, Dolphins Sweden, Fake Spike 94, Jazza 803, man, showing that love. But all of y'all and you guys that sign up for multiple things, man, I appreciate y'all so much. Jesus. Luke, D-Ray 91, obviously the homie Tilly all the way in the Golden Coast, Flips, Marcus 8084, Franks, Ty Rhodes, Florida born, Kentucky grown, Paige Wood, SC42, and Thiel Okuzakorn 72. Appreciate each and every one of you guys for showing love, for supporting. Guys, my linebacker board will be coming out this week during free agency. It'll be coming out this week. Also, if you don't, I'll be back on Monday night, but also back on Wednesday. So I think we're gonna have a double special on Wednesday. It's gonna be not what you're not gonna want to miss. Shout out to Johnny Lucifia, who just became a new member. So what's going down on Wednesday? Let me explain to y'all quick. At 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm gonna have Ben Albright on the show. He'll probably be here for about an hour and a half. And then I'm going to be coming right back at 4:30, because as y'all know, free agency opens up at 4:30 at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. So Jeremy Clump is going to join me. I'll have hopefully EM up here. Hopefully Ball Game said he's going to try and make it. He's probably going to be in the comments because he has a family engagement going on, so he'll be around. And then I'll have some of the mods up. And we'll be as free agency starts breaking, we'll start breaking stuff down. So Wednesday and Monday, I will be back. And then I'm thinking either Friday or the weekend of next week is when you will get. There'll be a Friday show either way, but either Friday or on Saturday or Sunday is when you will get the linebacker board. So be out on the lookout for that. So it's going to be a busy week. You know, we could have a bunch of shows this week depending on how things go because, guys, we'll be live Monday, and that's when the legal tampering opens. So a lot of content coming this week, and it's only going to start to speed up. Those big boards are going to be coming more frequently for me because depending on how free agency goes, you know, linebacker and wide receiver, that'll be filling 2 needs in terms of our big boards, and then I'm gonna have another 3 for you depending on what our needs are after free agency. That's why I waited on running back because I wanted to see what they're gonna do there. As it stands now, the other 3 you're gonna be seeing: running back, defensive tackle, right, and offensive line. So if they sign the center, then I'm gonna focus on tackle because I still think we're gonna need that right tackle. So you got 4 more if you include the linebackers. Big boards coming on the way. Big board for linebackers this week. Ben Albright this week. Monday, legal tampering show will be live. And then obviously double matinee on Wednesday because we'll be right back for the opening of free agency. So y'all already know what time it is, baby. I will see all of you guys this week. Thanks again to Eric Crocker. Man, the guests we've had on lately, they've been fire, guys. They've been absolute fire. And I really hope y'all are taking stuff away from these guys. And like I said, don't use my word as gospel. Don't use anyone's word as gospel. Use us all in our evaluations as reference points and then go from there. Do your own work. Use us as reference points. Oh, I see what they saw. Or, oh, I saw this differently than what they saw. It's okay, man. Just watch the tape, baby. It's all 22 or nothing over here. Y'all already know what time it is, baby. All right. And I'm actually probably going to do a video. I've got some tape breakdown, all 22 breakdown ideas, but I want to get through my big boards and the draft season first. So after the draft, I'm probably going to start diving in back into all 22 evaluations. I got a couple ideas for you. So we're probably going to break down X's season with ball game. I'm probably going to break down Byron Jones's season. I'm probably going to do a video showing y'all why I don't think Robert Hunt is a right tackle and why he's better suited as a guard. So at least those 3 are going to be coming after the draft. All right. So, just to fill up time till we get to training camp and stuff and just for content. Cause we got to keep the all 22 up. So guys, I will see you back here Monday. Y'all know what time it is. It might be the off season, but there ain't no off season for Phinside the NFL, baby. All right. Appreciate each and every one of you. Love each and every one of you, even the haters, baby. Y'all just make me want to be better. And guess what? I keep getting better and better because y'all be driving me. So it is what it is. Fins up all day, every day. I'll see y'all on Monday. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. We'll talk.